Hello everyone, welcome to Nerdy Soup, and for today's video tutorial we're gonna take a look at how to create a dusty shockwave upon objects impact on the ground. This effect here will require us to use some particle system and smoke simulation in order to achieve it, and right away I'm gonna show you what the end result is going to look like. And as you can see here, the effect is pretty cool. There is a lot going on. Even if it seems complex, it's really easy to do. So enough chit chat and let's get started. Starting with a fresh scene, I'm gonna delete everything, create a new plane and scale it a little bit, like so. Add next a cube. This will be our object. It can be anything, a sphere, a monkey. Let's try with Suzanne. Here it goes. I'm gonna just rotate it a little bit. On the y-axis, 45. Like so. And next, I'm gonna go to the physics tab, choose Suzanne, click on rigid body, and make it as a active type of rigid body. And next click on the plane, again rigid body, and make it as passive. The difference between active and passive is that when an object is of type active, it's gonna be affected by the gravity, by the forces that are around it. And when it's passive, it's gonna act like a ground or a table or so. So it's fixed, it doesn't move, it's not affected by the forces, and also it acts as a collision object. So if we Alt A here to see our simulation, you can see that Suzanne drops on, or the active object drops on the passive one. Okay, so just to check a little bit, so we have like a nice impact. Yeah, something like this. That's looking cool. So now what we're gonna do is create a plane, and for this one here we're gonna add a particle system here. And if you try to play here right now, you can see that all of our particles are dropping down. And even if we moved our plane a little bit higher, you can see that the particles again are passing through our plane, and that's not what we need. So again, go to the physics tab and activate the collision physics menu here. And if we replay again, you can see now that our particles are dropping on the ground. I don't know if it's visible, but nevertheless, yeah. And as you can see here, all the particles are bouncing around here. Okay, so this is our base here to start working on the shockwave. So first of all, I want my particles or my system to start to emit particles upon Suzanne's impact on the ground. So I'm gonna just find the right spot here, and as you can see here, it touches the ground, so it's frame 22. So I'm gonna select my particle system, go to the corresponding tab, and start emitting at 22 and finish emitting at 22. So here, what we are telling the particle system is that it has to create all of our particles at the frame 22 here. So, and if we take a look upon impact here, you can see that our particle system is generated. So if we play a little bit, you can see here that it's well synchronized. Next, the idea is we have the smoke, or on the impact, our particle is going to go upward. So here we go to the velocity tab and play a little bit with the normal and set it like 4, for example. And as you can see now, our particles have an initial velocity that goes along the object's normal here. So if we wanted to make our particles go in another direction than the normal one, we can play here with the emitter object axis, and we can tell him go on the x-axis, have an initial velocity along the x-axis. And if we take a look here, you can see that our particle system is moving along the axis that we've specified. So in our case, we have just a plane here, so it doesn't really matter. We can also put it on the z-axis if we wanted, but the normal here is doing fine. All depends on what you want to achieve. And for our case here, I think this is pretty nice. Okay, so now we have our smoke that's going out, that's going up. But as you can see, all the particles here are flying or moving at the same speed and the same velocity, which is not quite natural. So what we're gonna do is add some randomness and put the randomness like at 2 and take another look here. And as you can see, we have our smoke or our particle system here that's flying up upon impact. And this is what we want. I think the randomness is a little bit high. I'm gonna just play to see. Yeah, I think the randomness is a little bit high, so I'm gonna put it to 1.5. And now upon impact, you can see that we have this pretty cool effect here. And as you can also notice is that our particles are bouncing upon above the plane, but we don't want that. We want them to this is I'm gonna explain a little bit. So on impact we have the particles, which is actually the smoke going up, and next the shockwave is going to propagate these particles. So in order to achieve this effect, we're gonna add a force. So what we're gonna do now is Shift A, force field, and here we are going to add a force. If we take a look at the first time, we don't see too much of the effect, but I'm gonna show you what this actually do. If I go to the physics tab and put the strength to like a crazy value like 50, and take a look at how the result will look like. And as you can see here, the force is propagating our particle system, as you can see here. But this is not quite what we want, so we need to play with the strength here. And what I want to do is I'm gonna just put it to 0. Oops, to 0. And what we want is once the particles here fly up and begin to go down, we want to repulse everything. So I'm gonna go to like frame 20. I'm gonna add a keyframe on the strength at 0. Here we're going again to add another keyframe at 0. And now, just right away, we're gonna like put, I don't know, just to test like a 20 and see how it does look like actually. 20 is quite a high value. Just to look like, to see how it does look like. I'm gonna put it like 10. Again. Just see. Actually, the idea is I don't want it to stay. As you can see here, you know, you have the impression that the force is, the shockwave is taking a little bit too long to start emitting. So what I'm gonna do actually is switch to the dope sheet here and take this part keyframes here and move them a little bit back. Now back to the timeline again, take a look, and it looks for me better. Yeah. Also, I'm again, and it's going back, playing with the settings, etc. So what I'm gonna do is reduce a little bit the normal here, as I don't want it to go too high. Also, again, it depends on what you want to, the impression you want to give to the viewer. If like your object is like, I don't know, 1000 kilograms and it's dropping on a really dusty ground, it's gonna generate a lot of smoke and a bigger shockwave, etc. But for now, we are going for like I don't know, like a 20 or 30 kilograms object, pretty much a small object that's going on a pretty dusty, that is dropping on a dusty ground. And as you can see here, I like more this effect here. But again, I'm not satisfied with the shockwave. I think it's maybe maybe I'm gonna delete these keyframes here and stay with 2, a linear sort of. Yeah, and I think it's better. I think it's looking better. Okay, so in my opinion, this is pretty much what I wanted to achieve. So here on impact, yeah, you can see that is repulsing everything. And now what I'm gonna do is take a little bit down the particles lifetime. Again, it all depends on what you want to do. If it's, as I said, a big object dropping on a very dusty ground, the particles gonna take longer, or the smoke gonna take longer to disappear. But if it's like a relatively small object, as you can see here, it looks good. Yeah, I think it's looking fine to me. We're gonna again select the force field and get the noise a little bit high. Playing again with the seed of the noise, I think. Yeah. My opinion, it's looking good. You can add other forces if you wanted to, like a windy force if you want to drive your particles in a certain direction. Here, I just want them to propagate on the XY plane, but you can add forces that are gonna make, like you can add, for example, here, you can add a wind force that you're gonna like place like so and give it more strength. And if we play our run, you can see how it does act. We're gonna take it a little bit down, for example. And this is to have like a windy effect here. Okay, so in my opinion, it's looking good. I'm gonna stay with this wind here. I think it gives it a little bit of more realism. Just yeah, I'm not change my particles start and frames to fit the new one because we added the wind, so the particles. I don't know why, but it like it mm, in the before adding the wind here, as you can see, we had the particles that started generating at frame 22, and upon impact here, we have the wind also that will move our particle in a certain direction. So we need to resynchronize it. I don't know why it does change, but it's like 25 now. 25. 25. Now, if we play the simulation again, you can see how it does look like. There's something you can see here. I'm not really convinced with the... Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah, I think it's better like this. So here we have our particle system that's doing well. And now what we're gonna tackle is the smoke simulation. So in order to generate our smoke, we're gonna select our particle emitter here, press space and search for quick smoke. Select it, and quick smoke is going to create for us a domain, which is like the chamber where the smoke simulation is gonna be calculated, and transform our plane as a smoke emitter. So the first step I'm not going to do here is scale our domain in order to fit our space here. For example, like so in the x-axis, in the y-axis, and a little bit on the z here, like so. Oh, yeah, and it's looking fine. As you can see here, our particles actually are moving forward more than in any other direction. And what you can see also is that our smoke is started to be generated here. And that, but the problem is, as you can see, is our smoke is moving up and not following our particles. This is because if you select the plane here and go to the physics tab, you can see that the flow source is mesh, and what we want is actually use the particle system. So choose flow source particle system and select particle system. And now if we simulate, you can see that the smoke is actually being generated by our particles. The problem is actually the smoke is too thick and for our or for what we want to achieve. So if I'm gonna save my file, and if we do like a quick render here, you can see that the smoke is too much dense. So what we're gonna do here is play a little bit with the density. So I'm gonna drop it like to 0.2. And as you can see here, the smoke is a little bit is less dense, and the other phenomenon that we are seeing here is the smoke is quickly rising up, and we don't want this here, as there won't be too much of a temperature difference here, and this is what we're gonna play with, the temperature difference. And if you take it really down, like to like 0.2 or so, this is gonna affect how the smoke is behaving. Take a little bit to the negative values here to see just. And as you can see here, the smoke doesn't tend to go high upwards quickly. As you can see here, and this is what the effect that we want to achieve. But like minus 0.5, I think gonna be pretty much good. Yeah, -1. I don't want it to go too high. Yeah, something maybe like this, looking good. Okay, so the other thing we are going to do is select our domain, and again here we have the effect of the density, and here we can say how much the density affects the smoke motion. So if we put it like -1 here, you can see that the smoke will actually not rise or go upwards quickly, and it will tend to stay at level. Actually, the domain is a little bit too small in my opinion. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, or especially on the X and Y axis here, like so we can see and this is the propagation of our okay, and I think it's looking good in my opinion. What we're gonna do next is get a little bit the division higher. So I'm gonna put it like 128, save my file, and run the simulation again to see better how the smoke is gonna look like. And as you can see, it's completely different based on the division you have. So this is why I make like a rough test with smaller divisions, just to give the smoke the overall shape I want, and then I'm go higher in divisions and tweak a little bit the settings so that they fit what I actually want to achieve. Yeah. Now, maybe I'm gonna give the particles here, if I select them, a higher lifetime, like 35. Just to see. Yeah. And I think it's looking good. What we can also do is, again, in the so by selecting the flow object, and in the physics tab here, I'm gonna take a little bit the temp difference to -0.5, so we have a little bit of rising smoke. So again, I'm gonna just drop again the divisions to 64, so we have faster rendering, and just to see if the smoke. Yeah, and I think it's looking good. We can do some test renders to see if this smoke has the look we are searching for. So I'm gonna take it like so and add a camera. I'm gonna position myself on how I want to see the shockwave, and Control Alt 0 to place my camera. Like so. I'm not rotated along the y-axis a little bit. Yeah, something like so here. And say my file render. Yeah, I'm not just adding HDRI here. I have Pro Lightning Sky, so it's quick and easy to do it. But you can load in any HDRI, it's gonna work fine. F12. And as you can see here, the first thing we see is that our smoke is not detailed at all. And this is what we're gonna do next, is add details to our smoke. So I'm gonna select my domain here, go again to the physics tab, and play with the here. We're gonna add some more subdivisions. I'm gonna go to like 96. Smoke adaptive domain. So this is gonna speed a little bit our renderings, because the domain will adapt its size to fit the smoke simulation. And check also the smoke high resolution and put the subdivisions to like 2 and give it again a test render. So here is our render once we've added those settings here with the smoke high resolution and the subdivisions number here. As you can see, the smoke is more detailed. We have more details and it's looking fine. What I'm gonna do now is go again to the 3D view, and I'm not as satisfied with the resolution, so I'm gonna make it higher and again add more divisions, like 3 divisions. And the next thing, I'm gonna just adjust my camera angle is as it is not well placed, and I'm gonna move everything up. Okay, yeah, and now I'm gonna select my domain, choose, go to, where is it? Yeah, smoke cache, and we're gonna bake all of our dynamics. I'm not gonna, yeah, we can go like to frame 70 here again, and we are gonna use a bake all dynamics option. And as you can see here, it starts baking, and see you just in a minute. So the baking is finished right now, and as you can see here, we can play our smoke simulation pretty quickly and easily. We don't have to simulate each of these frames each time. So now, and as you can see here, we have our smoke. What we need now to do is play a little bit with the shading, and to do so, I'm gonna split this panel here, and do Shift F3 to switch to the node editor, and I'm gonna Shift Z on my 3D view to take a look at the smoke. And as you can see, it takes a little bit to render, as it's a pretty much high detailed smoke with a lot of things going on. But what I want to do is here, as you can see, is play with this, then bump it. I give it a test render, so I'm gonna like 70. And if you want, you can make a longer simulation, change the frame rate, etc. But I'm gonna go with basic settings. I'm gonna drop it to 25 in order to make it quicker to render. You can switch to GPU, but as I generally in the performance here, I'm gonna drop the tile size to 32 pixels, and I think we can go with that. So render and render animation, and I'm gonna just see you in a minute. So the render is finished. So I'm gonna play the rendered animation just to show you how or what's our result looking like. As you can see, it looks pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, it can be improved on many aspects, especially here at this moment here. You can see that it takes a little bit too long for the smoke to propagate. But it's looking pretty much good. And this is the main idea. After that, you can tweak make your own settings, change how the smoke rises, how the particles move, etc. And this can make and give more interesting results. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and you learned something or find it useful. And I would like to see all of your work if you want to, so drop links in comments. Please, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you disliked the video, hit that button. And I hope to see you for a next tutorial. Thank you.